Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, welcome back. In the previous session we were talking about the description of the material world which Krishna has given in the chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna mentions that the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. So we discuss this particular topic, and then Krishna says the way to get out of this reflection, which we think is all in all. The way to get out is by the process of detachment. So once somebody detaches oneself from the designation in this material world, because we identify ourselves in this world with some kind of designation, and when we actually identify ourselves as servant of Krishna, part and parcel of Krishna, so in that way then one can easily get out of the cycle of birth and death. So here Prabhupada mentions in the introduction that we are after designation, and someone wants to be called a sir or a lord or a president or a king or any kind of designation, and we are attached to that designation. So these designations are actually bodily concept of life. It identifies ourselves as a body. Then soul get attached to the body. So under that condition, because of the detachment, designation and the attachment, and this is actually because of the lust and desire we have. We want to lord over the material nature. So if you want to go to the Sanatan Dhama, if you want to go to the eternal planet, then we will have to get rid of these designations and the attachment. So this is the process. Right? So that's what we discussed in the last session, and then we continue in this one, that how to attain. This is the continuation of the same topic, how to attain Krishna's abode. So in Bhagavad Gita 8.21 it is stated, so let's read it. Elsewhere in Gita 8.21 it is stated that avyakto akshara iti uktas tam ahos paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. So Krishna is again describing his planet, that avyakta means unmanifested. Not even all the material world is manifested before us. So whatever we see around us, we don't see complete things. We can only see certain things which is actually shown to us or which is required to be seen by us. This is given in the scriptures. Not actually everything is the thing which we see in the sky. Not everything is visible. In fact, most of the things are covered. And only whatever is necessary for our existence in this world, that is only shown to us. So our senses are so imperfect that we cannot even see all of the stars within the material universe. So what it's talking about is the material universe is the universe which we can see within this one universe. Within this also we cannot see everything. We can only see those things which are shown to us. But there are many more which is beyond our visibility, and that is the imperfection of our senses. In the Vedic literature we can receive much information about all the planets, and we can believe it or not believe it. So this is up to us, after reading the scriptures, whether to accept the words of the scriptures or whether to accept the words of Krishna is the free will which Krishna gives to us. And that choice we can always make. All of the important planets are described in the Vedic literatures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, and the spiritual world which is beyond this material sky is described as avyakta or unmanifested. So this is the beyond this universe is the spiritual universe. So there are actually layers of covering of the universe, and the layers are of different types. The first layer is made up of earth. So this is a subtle element of earth. Then the next layer is water, then there is a fire, then there is a air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So these are the coverings of universe, and each covering is 10 times the diameter of the previous covering. So let's say this is 10 miles. So then this late covering of water will be 100 miles. And similarly, it keeps on going. So it's a very thick covering. It's very difficult to bypass this covering. So anything beyond this is considered as avyakta because we cannot see. Only way we can understand is by these scriptures, or somebody who is coming from this part and coming here and explaining us what it is. Then only we can understand. Otherwise, it is very difficult. It's impossible actually to understand. So, continuing that one should desire and hanker after the supreme kingdom, for which one attains that kingdom, he does not have to return to this material world. So, this point is stressed again and again, that once you go back to the spiritual world, then you do not come back to the material world. Right? So, and then what happens in the spiritual world is also given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Basically, it's Krishna's pastime with the devotees. So, now we continue further. So, the next question may arise that, how to go to the spiritual world, or how to go back to Godhead. So, Krishna discusses this point in chapter number 8. This one whole chapter is particularly discussing this topic, that what one should do at the time of death, because that decides our destiny. The moment of death is a deciding factor whether we are going to continue in this cycle of birth or death, or we are going to go to spiritual world. So let's read what Prabhupada is mentioning here. Next, one may raise the question of how one goes about approaching that abode of Supreme Lord. Information of this is given in the 8th chapter. It is said there, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra asamsayaha. It means, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me attains immediately to my nature, and there is no doubt of this. So this is 8th chapter and 5th verse. So what it's saying is, whoever is at the end of the life while quitting the body, if they can remember Krishna, then they can immediately attain Krishna's nature. So what is Krishna's nature? It is transcendental. So let's see those verses. BG 8.5 Veda base. So here the series of verses which discusses this point. So that's why I brought it over here. So this is the first verse which we saw, that, and whoever at the time of death quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. And then the next verse talks about the same thing. Yam yam vapi. Now this is the same point is reiterated. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So previous verse also talks about that when somebody remembers Krishna, then they attain Krishna's nature. So Krishna's nature is transcendental. So basically the living entity then goes to the Krishna's planet. At the same time, the next verse is saying whatever they remember at the time of death, then they attain that kind of body. And there are examples in scriptures like Maharaj Bharat. He was a great devotee of the Lord, and he, at the time of death, he actually was attached to a deer, baby deer. He protected the deer, and he was thinking about the deer, that what is going to happen to that deer when I leave the body. So the next body he got was a body of a deer. So there are many examples in the scriptures like that, where People think of something and they get that body, that kind of body in the next life. So continuing the discussion here in 8.7, Krishna is saying to Arjuna that in the previous two verses says that, whatever you are remembering at the time of death, you will get that kind of body in your next life. So therefore Krishna is saying tasmat. Tasmat means therefore. He is saying Arjuna, therefore Arjuna, you should always think of me in form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duties of fighting. So over here Arjuna is a warrior. So his prescribed duty is to fight, right? And fight the battle of Kurukshetra. So but Krishna is saying that therefore Arjuna, you should always think of me. So tasmat sarveshu kaleshu means, tasmat means therefore, sarveshu means all the time, kaleshu means all. Basically sarveshu is all, kaleshu is time. Then what Krishna is saying, mam anusmara, first you remember me, yuddhacha, then fight. So Krishna is stressing on that point that you have to remember me all the time and then fight. So in case somebody dies during that fighting, then because he is remembering Krishna, then he will attain Krishna's nature. So in our case, we are not fighting, but we are carrying out our duties, day-to-day duties. So that is our prescribed duties. So when we are carrying out our prescribed duties, before carrying out the prescribed duties, we should remember Krishna. So that's what is Krishna's instruction to Arjuna. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Asamsaya means it's a doubt. So Mahame Vaishyasya Asamsaya means you will come to me or you will attain me without doubt. There is no doubt about it. He is giving guarantee. Now Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So his guarantee is not like the guarantees which we get in the material world. Now some may think that, the whole life I may do something, but at the end I'll try to remember. I read in Bhagavad Gita that remember Krishna at the time of death. And then if somebody thinks like that, then actually this is not possible, because at the time of death what happens is, if we are not trained before the time of death, then we will only remember those things which we are most attached to. And generally Krishna will not be that person whom we are most attached to if we have not practiced it. Therefore Krishna is saying that tasmat sarvesu kaleshu means all the time. This is the practice which Krishna has suggested to Arjuna. So in fact Krishna is actually suggesting to us too the same formula. If we apply, then we can attain the same results what Arjuna got. So that's why one who thinks of Krishna at the time of death goes to Krishna. One must remember the form of Krishna. If he quits his body thinking of this form, he surely approaches the spiritual kingdom. Mad Bhavam refers to the supreme nature of the Supreme Being. So Krishna's nature is, he is transcendental, he is Satchidananda. So when we say that somebody attains Krishna's nature, means he also becomes Satchidananda and he goes to the Satchidananda planet of Krishna, which is Goloka Vrindavan. So in this diagram which we saw, the Goloka Vrindavan is here. So Krishna resides here. And when one thinks about Krishna in this world, in the material world, and he quits his body thinking of Krishna, then he can immediately go to Krishna's planet without any visa or without any application or anything. So this is the process which is given in Bhagavad Gita, very clearly defined. There is no ifs and buts, right? There is no other way we can go to Krishna Loka. The Supreme Being is Satchidananda, Vigraha. That is, Vigraha means he has a form. Satchidananda means Sat, Chit, Ananda. We saw the description of Sat, Chit, Ananda, the three different energies of Krishna in the previous sessions. So the Supreme Being is Satchidananda Vigraha. That is, his form is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and bliss means ananda. And his form is like that. Like our body is made up of, whatever bones, blood, stool, urine, and all those. This is a composition of our body. Krishna's body is not like that. Krishna's body is Sachidananda. Even if he comes in this world, he doesn't change his body. Like we change body from moving from one body to other. Krishna doesn't change his body. So therefore, he can remember past, present, and future. In our case, we change body and we forget everything what happened in the past life. Of course, some people remember by, the mercy of Krishna, but not everyone can remember. Our present body is not Sachidananda. It is Asat, not Sat. It's Asat means temporary. It is not eternal. It is perishable. It is not Chit, means it's not full of knowledge, but it is full of ignorance. When we have no knowledge of the spiritual kingdom, nor do we even have perfect knowledge of this material world, where there are so many things unknown to us. In fact, there are so many things unknown in our own body, actually. How things happen, we don't know. The body is also Nirananda. Instead of being full of bliss, it is full of miseries. All the miseries we experience in this material world arise from the body. But one who leaves this body thinking of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at once attains Sachidananda body. So, when the living entity actually, at the time of leaving the body, thinks about Krishna, quit the body remembering Krishna, then what happens? He attains immediately the spiritual form, because the soul has a spiritual form. Right? It is qualitatively same as Krishna. So Krishna has a form, so the soul also has a spiritual form. Right now that spiritual form is covered. It's in a seed form, right? It's like a seed of a tree, It is not fructified, right? So that form, the soul is in that kind of form when it is present in this body. And then if the soul doesn't remember Krishna at the time of death, what happened? The fate is decided by higher authorities according to the activities of this life. So then that is explained, I think, later on in the next section, how we get the next body. So here, this is a process given by or recommended by Krishna, that you remember him. And it's a very important thing for all of us to understand. This is the practice we have to do the whole life. So that's why Prabhupada says many times that life is a preparation and death is examination. So that examination all of us will have to go through. And if we do not pass, then we will be given another opportunity. But the best part of Krishna consciousness is, this knowledge Krishna reveals in 2nd chapter and many other places, that this knowledge actually stays with us. So for example, we have attained some knowledge in this life, and then you have covered some ground in spiritual life. Then what happens is, if at the end of the life, if we cannot attain Krishna, then we will be given another opportunity, and we start from the same place where he stopped in the last life. In case of material education, we have to start from zero. But in spirituality, it is not like that. Whatever we have gained in this life is not destroyed. It goes with us in the next life, and we begin our journey from that same point which we stopped in the previous life. So this is actually asked by Arjuna, this question in Bhagavad Gita, that he is asking this question, that what happens to somebody who has started this process and he couldn't complete in this life. So Krishna is saying, that somebody who has started this process, he will not, he doesn't lose all the stuff whatever he has gained in this life. In fact, he begins his next life from the same place where he stopped. So continuing that discussion, getting the next body. So this is a part of fate decided by the higher authorities if we do not remember Krishna at the time of death. So what is that fate? So getting the next body. The process of quitting this body and getting another body in the material world is also organized. So this is organized by Krishna. So there is a system. Everything is controlled. And when things are controlled, means there is a controller. So those controllers are demigods. So when the men dies, or men in the sense human, the soul transmigrates, leaves this body. What happens? A man dies. After it has been decided what form of body he will have in the next life. Right? The higher authorities, not the living entity himself, makes this decision. So based on the activities we have done in this life, we'll be presented before the court of Yamaraj. So this is Yamaraj. This is the soul. And then the soul is brought in front of the Yamaraj, and then all what we have done in the life is read before us. And then appropriately, if punishment needs to be given, then the soul is punished. Now, these are not like stories. This is the thing which is given in this Vedic literature. How the soul has to go through a journey. Everything is described, and how difficult the journey is. So we continue reading it. According to our activities in this life, we either rise or sink. Means rise in the sense, if the activities are good, then we go into the higher. So we are here in this material world, and if we do good activities, then we rise. Means we go up in this higher planetary system. Sink means we go down, and then we are entitled for the punishment, whatever punishment has been decided. So that's how it works in the universal government. So according to our activities in this life, we either rise or sink. This life is a preparation for the next life. If we can prepare, therefore, in this life to get promotion to the kingdom of God, then surely after quitting this material body, we will attain the spiritual body just like Lords. So this is up to us, whether we want to rise or we have to sink. So the Krishna doesn't take that free will away from us. This choice is always belongs to us. So then the next topic is that destinations of different kinds of transcendentalists. As explained before, there are different kinds of transcendentalists: the Brahmavadi, the Paramatmavadi, and the devotees. And as mentioned in the Brahma Jyoti spiritual sky, there are innumerable spiritual planets. The number of these planets are far, far greater than all the planets of this material world. This material world has been approximated as only 1/4 of the material creation of the creation. Ekam Sena Stito Jagat, Bhagavad Gita 10.42. So, what the point is, this is 1/4 of the total creation, this material world, and this is 3/4, just to give us an idea that this portion is larger compared to the material world. Okay, so this is 3/4, and in this 3/4 area, there are innumerable planets. So these are all spiritual, above the Brahma Jyoti, and below the Brahma Jyoti over here, this is all material planets. Okay, where you have to go through birth, death, old age, and disease. In this material segment, there are millions and billions of universes with trillions of planets and suns. So within this material universe also there are millions of universes and suns and stars and moon. But this whole material creation is only a fragment of the total creation. Most of the creation is in the spiritual sky. One who desires to merge into the existence of the Supreme Brahman is at once transferred to the Brahma Jyoti of the Supreme Lord and thus attain the spiritual sky. So we discussed this point earlier, that once we get out of this universe or material universe, then we have multiple options. So first option is we can hang out here in the Brahma Jyoti. And then other option is we can attain the Paramatma, in the heart. And the third option is we go to the spiritual planets and then perform pastimes or engage in pastimes with the Supreme Lord. So these are the options. Or different transcendentalists have different interests. So based on their interest, they have different places to go. So the devotee who wants to enjoy the association of the Lord enters into the Vaikuntha planets, which are innumerable, and the Supreme Lord, by his expansion as Narayan with four-handed hands and with different names like Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Govinda, associate with him there. Right. So if somebody wants to go to the Vaikuntha planets, so these are the Vaikuntha planets. So here the Lord has a four-handed form. Narayan has a four-handed form, and actually all the spiritual beings in this area, they all have four-handed forms. And when we go here, we will also have a, if we want to go here, then we will also have a four-handed form. So this is about the Vaikuntha planet. And okay, and there are different forms like, names like Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Govinda, etc. We can associate with them. Therefore, at the end of the life, if the transcendental thinks of the Brahma Jyoti, the Paramatma or the Supreme Personality of God at Krishna, so in all cases they enter into the spiritual sky. But only the devotees or he who is personal touch with the Supreme Lord enters into the Vaikuntha planets or the Goloka Vrindavan planets. So depending on the rasa, the taste of the devotees, he will be positioned in different planets. The Lord further adds that of this there is no doubt. So he's giving a confirmation that do not doubt about this. This must be believed firmly. This is what Prabhupada is saying. Must be believed. We must believe the words of Lord. We should not reject that which does not tally with our imagination. Our attitude should be that of Arjuna. I believe everything that you have said. Therefore, when the Lord says that at the time of death, whoever thinks of him as Brahman or Paramatma or as a personality of Godhead certainly enters into the spiritual sky. There is no doubt about it. There is no question of disbelieving this. So, this is what Prabhupada is saying, that we must accept Krishna's word. I mean, we have two options. One is not believing Krishna's word. Other is believing Krishna's word. So somebody who believes Krishna's word, then we have to accept that whatever Krishna is saying, that at the time of death, if we think about him, then while thinking about him, what happens is we are absorbed in him. And then at the time of death, that what happens, we can go back to Krishna Loka. And Prabhupada is actually kind of telling us that don't disbelieve. These are the statements of the Supreme Lord. He is not here to lie. So otherwise, if if this some of the statements does not tally with our understanding, then if we reject, then there is no meaning of studying Bhagavad Gita, because these are all part of Bhagavad Gita. This is not some man-made. So we should not accept only a part of Bhagavad Gita which fits our understanding. We should take every statement of Bhagavad Gita as a word of Supreme Lord and absolutely truth. So this is how Arjuna understood Bhagavad Gita, and he says that I believe everything what you have said, and therefore I am going to follow what you are saying. So with this, we'll stop here and continue discussing further next time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaur Premanande Haribol.